if you consent to that.
This meeting is late. Oh, so I need to just hit got it, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Got it. Oh, come on.
And we're going live on Facebook as well. I'm really looking forward to this, Glenda.
I am too, actually.
Just verifying that the YouTube one is up and live. It looks like it is. And the other thing I need to do is I got a new webcam, which I like. I like how it works. However, it's almost a little too good. It shows like too many of my wrinkles and pores and everything. It's like, oh.
Well, and now you need a makeup artist.
Yeah, right. At some point you're like, okay, is this too much? I think it's too much. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, it looks like we're live and we have a few viewers. Say hi, viewers.
Hi.
If you're in the audience, I'm going to keep an eye on chat. Hi, Leah. Leah Sepinen says hi, Glenda. Hi, Jamon.
Hi, Leah.
But you're related to her, right?
Yes, she's one of my first cousins.
Okay. Cool. Well, I'll let people kind of stream in here a little bit as we get going here. For those of you who are tuning in, Glenda is actually coming to us live from my house. Hopefully the audio doesn't bounce through the wall too much. We're trying not to. So that's kind of fun. That's a first. I haven't had anybody actually come to my house. Sue Michelson says hello.
Hello.
And we have others coming in. So reminder to everybody that this is also available on YouTube. So if you think anybody might want to watch along, feel free to send them this YouTube link. Don't post it like publicly though, like just individually to people. I'll put this in the chat. Danita Waldall, Judy Kinnanen says hi as well. Linda Werkela, Sonia West, another relative of yours.
Yes.
Cool. All right. Well, we have enough people, I think, joining us that we can start with the intros. I'm Jamon Holmgren, and I am of course, hosting these interviews, which I've been enjoying so much. I told my wife, Kyra, that honestly, I would do them even if nobody watched, just because I find them so interesting. And it's also, I'm very happy to have Glenda Howard on. Thanks for coming on, Glenda. It's definitely a pleasure to have you.
Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So been connected to Glenda for a few years now. Danetta, sorry, I was messed it up. Danetta, my bad. But been connected to Glenda for a while, and seems like every time I talk to her, she's in a different country, which is sort of the point of this interview. I really wanted to get a glimpse into, I guess, your travels, your experiences, what life is like in some of these other countries, kind of how you came to doing that, all those things. So we're definitely going to be diving into that. Quick note to the people who are watching, please do put comments, questions in chat, and I will definitely try to read those to Glenda and have her respond to those as well. So very cool. I'm going to start off, Glenda, with the "Whose Girl Are You" segment. So people in our community, everybody knows everybody, it seems like, but yeah, how would people know you? Whose girl are you?
So my mom is the one of 13 kids from Aner and Angie Stenerson. So Grandpa Einar was full Norwegian, and then Grandma is Swedish, probably a few other things thrown in there. So as far as I know, we don't have any Finnish in us, which is kind of odd.
Yeah. Nordic, but no Finn.
Yeah. So I love telling everybody that I'm Viking. So 1/4 Viking. So that's cool. And then they kind of go, well, that explains you. So Leslie Stenerson, who has passed, is my mom's oldest brother. Lloyd Stenerson, Philip Stenerson, Glenn Stenerson. There's just a bunch of them. So I'm sure everybody knows a lot of them. And then on my dad's side, it's pretty cool. They actually repented into the ALC. They were just your basic, living moral pagans, as we like to say. Just never heard about Jesus, but they were just amazing people, but didn't know about Jesus at all, literally. And it was actually a Hillman that was best friends. I don't remember who she was. I'm sure she's passed now, but she was best friends with my grandma Rhodes. And so she shared the gospel with my grandma Rhodes, and my grandpa was a shepherd. So he was actually out in the hill, he would go for 4 to 5 months at a time as a shepherd in the hills without coming back. And grandma would be at home with the kids. And when he came back, grandma told him about Jesus. She had already repented, and grandpa accepted Jesus. And it was, so I don't remember how many kids they already had at that time, but they already had several kids at that time. So Richard Rhodes is one of my uncles. One of my dad's older brothers went to the Old Apostolic. And then my dad was the baby of the family, and he was the surprise child. So on my mom's side of the family, I'm one of the oldest of 91 grandkids. I'm number 10 from the top. And on my dad's side of the family, I'm one of the youngest of the grandkids, because there was 7 kids, there was 6, and then there was a large gap, and then they were surprised with my dad. So my dad was Gerald Rhodes. He was killed in a car accident 6 weeks before I turned 2. So my mom is Violet Rhodes, which probably everybody knows. Yeah. So I have one brother. Yeah. My mom was pregnant with my brother, and he was born 3 months after my dad died.
Wow. I did not know that about your dad. That's incredibly sad. So you really never, did you have any memories of him? Or
no
memories of him?
No. My mom said that I told her, like, I talked about him after he was gone, but my memories really start about 2.5 years old. And he was gone 6 weeks before I turned 2. So,
yeah. Ron and Nancy Gilkerson says Eileen Hillman Rantala.
Yes, that's who shared the gospel with Grandma Rhodes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so it is those Rhodes that we know that you're related to. Okay.
Yep. Nancy's my first cousin.
Yep. Okay.
So yeah.
Very cool. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Battleground, right on 199th Street. My mom actually just sold that house, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago, but I was born in that house and raised in that house, lived there until I got married at 20 years old.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's a very different story for the next the next several decades. You started out in one place, and then you got the wanderer feet. So you're married to Ken, Ken Howard, and you have some kids.
We have 2 boys.
2 boys.
Yep. So our oldest son he's going to turn 29 years old on November 1st. Our youngest just turned 27 this past July. So our oldest lives in Tokyo. He's lived there. It'll be 6 years next month. And he's fluent in Japanese. He wants to live there till Jesus comes, he says. He never, ever wants to leave Japan. And then our youngest is married and lives here in Washington State. So
okay. And what are their names?
Adrian is the oldest and Christopher is the youngest.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. They're in a few pictures.
Yeah. We'll see some pictures. And your husband Ken is a private pilot, or not a private pilot. What would you call it?
Well,
It was
yeah, he
I
flies
guess a
private
private pilot.
jets.
Private
Yeah,
jet
yeah.
pilot.
He's
Yeah.
never flown for the airlines.
Okay,
So he
right.
literally flies individuals who own their own private jets. He just always says he's a glorified taxi driver, which is kind of true. Because everybody think, there's no perks with it as far as,
Mhm.
airlines. You don't get insurance, you don't get
Sure.
anything. You're just a
Yeah.
glorified taxi driver. But
Mhm.
he loves it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And he goes
still
to a lot of interesting places.
right. Yeah, in meeting interesting people, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'd assume pretty wealthy people that are flying on private jets,
Yeah.
flying
Yep.
everywhere around the world. Okay.
Yep.
And you've been involved. We'll talk probably some of this. You've done some import export stuff, and is there anything else kind of noteworthy that you've done in that regard before we get on to the where you've lived part?
I got to be a stay-at-home mom and homeschool our boys. So that was awesome, and just did that literally all over the world.
Okay.
Drug them all around the US while they homeschooled in the car and in hotels while we stayed wherever Ken was staying with, the millionaires and billionaires he flew. So back then I drove while he flew, and then we'd meet up wherever he was, and they'd do their homeschool. And then, until we moved overseas. So
let me ask you how you decided to do
practice.
that, because I feel like most people would be like, okay, I have my house, my husband's gone, but he'll be back. But you were like, no, I'll just go where he is.
Yeah.
How did you decide to do that?
Well, so we discovered really quickly that if I didn't go where he was, we were going to see him 40% of the time, maybe 50% of the time, and that was it. So yeah, I was like, well, that kind of sucks. So I wanted, I wanted the boys to have a dad. And so I just realized that I could drive 13 hours, 15 hours in a car and end up where he was. And they always put him up in really nice hotels. So those are the only nice, like 5-star hotels, 4 and 5-star hotels that we ever stay in, because we don't do that when we travel. But if I drove and ended up wherever he was, he'd be in the Marriott residence, he'd be in, the Hilton, he'd be in whatever. And doesn't cost any more to have your wife in the hotel room with you and your kids in the hotel room with you. So, and these people go and they stay somewhere for a week or 5 days, but generally about a week. So if they live in Aspen, Colorado, and they fly to San Diego, they stay there for a week. Well, I'm going to drive there. So I just started doing that, and started doing it when really the boys were babies. And so then as they started schooling, they had it down. They each had a little bag and they'd pack their school. And then it got to where they negotiated things with me because they were learning, oh, where are we going? So we're going to, where, depends on, we also moved a bunch in the US, but so they would negotiate with me. I didn't realize all the things they were learning from this. Things like, so it's going to take us 13 hours to drive there, Mom. So if we do 3 days of school going, and then we get to, play the whole time, because we discovered there's an aquarium and there's a zoo and there's this park and there's a natural history museum and, and there's this bridge, and we want to do parkour there. We want to do this. And then we do 3 days of school on the day we drive back. Will that work, Mom? Works for me. Yes, of course. And so they were not only just learning how to do their school in a less than ideal setting. I mean, they're doing it in a car. So they kind of looked at their friends like, what's up with you? And their friends would be like, well, I have all this homework, but I can't study because I can't study here. I need to go to the library and study. So it's nice and quiet. And they were like, well, that's not what we ever had studying. And it just worked. And we just did year-round school because of that. So we did year-round school. And then when we went places, they negotiated and they got their school done. And yeah, they did 12 years of school in 7 years. So that was the end result.
That is amazing. That is incredible. Like every part of that is amazing. The fact that you were willing to just drive and go, but then not just that you would do that, so that you could be around Ken. Obviously that was huge, but also all the experiences of going,
Yeah.
of driving, of
Yeah.
the flexibility of the school and all of
Yeah.
that. That's amazing.
And I just packed the cooler. I mean, and I
Yeah.
bake all day long for a day or two before
Yeah.
leaving. So, and we'd buy food from the grocery store, and because
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It just became a way of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I want to get into, you started traveling abroad as well. And
Yeah.
so how did that come about? What was the first country you went to? And was this an extension of what you were doing? Was Ken flying there, or was this something else?
It started with Mexico.
Okay.
Because I just discovered that, well, because I had gone to YWAM when I was 18, and then Ken and I did YWAM together, actually. And our oldest son Adrian turned 1 there, and I got pregnant with Christopher there. So I knew the cost of living is really, really low. And if you can get there really cheap, then once you're there, you basically don't hardly spend any money at all. Because again, like I said, we don't stay, if it's on our dime, we don't stay in 4- and 5-star hotels. We stay wherever the local people stay, little mom and pop places and whatever. So that was kind of the start. And then when the boys were 7 and 9 years old, they discovered Teen Missions International, which is they run a boot camp in Florida, and then at 10 years old, they can go overseas. But if they're 9 and they're turning 10 during the 6-week program, believe it or not, it's a 6-week program. So you spend 2 weeks in Florida and you go for a month overseas on all different mission trips, kind of whatever your passion is or whatever. So you spend a month overseas. So if you're 9, but you will turn 10 while during the 6-week program, you can go. So our boys at 9 and 10 and a half went to Ecuador. So Christopher had his 10th birthday in Ecuador. They spent a month in Ecuador. They were just stoked about it. I cried when they left only because I wasn't going, which, I was like, this is ridiculous. This is my heart. Why are they going and I'm not going? So I forget, was it 2006? Both our boys said, Mom, we want you to lead a team with both of us on it. So I led a team with Teen Missions. And so I'd have to look at my albums, but I think that might have been the first country that I went overseas on. So I was the head female leader in charge of all the cooking and food for 29 kids. And we went to Iceland. And so
we're going to see some photos from that. I think.
So we did the boot camp and then a month in Iceland. And then the following year I did France, and Christopher was on the team. Adrian aged out. So he went to Jamaica that year and built a school in Jamaica. And we went to France. And then in between that, Ken started having flights to Europe. So that's where Italy came in. He had a week-long flight to Italy. And at the last minute, we hadn't even thought about it, because just international just really wasn't on the radar. I mean, it just really wasn't on the radar. I mean, Mexico, I figured that was close enough. But I was able to get a ticket for I can't remember. It was really cheap. It was like less than $400. And again, it's the same thing. If I can get to where he is, then then I can stay in the hotel for free. And then as far as food, obviously I can't take a cooler with me, right? So it's not quite like driving in the car and packing a cooler, but he gets per diem on top of his salary for flying out of the country. So the per diem would actually cover my airfare and all of our food and anything fun we decided to do there. And hotel was all covered, and hotel almost always includes breakfast. So that's when we discovered, I can also fly and meet him overseas. This is great. So I went to Italy and Switzerland. Until
you sent me
overseas.
A list, and we're going to talk about some of these for sure. But I just want to read the list just so people have a sense for the scope here.
So some of those countries, if I had a layover at an airport for 4 hours or more, it made the list. If not, it didn't make the list.
Right.
So I had to be on the ground, experience at least an airport, the people, probably bought a souvenir, which is always a refrigerator magnet. So just so you know.
But a lot of these have a parentheses.
Yeah.
Lived in
a month and 4 months and 6 months. Yeah.
4 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not all just like going
Oh,
through an
no,
airport.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Guatemala lived in apparently twice. You got Canada, Mexico, Switzerland, Iceland, France, Italy, the UK, Germany, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, which we're going to talk a lot more about. Haiti, Philippines, Brunei. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Brunei.
Cambodia, Taiwan, Japan, Hong Kong, which is another one where you have a lot of crazy stories from. China, Kenya, Mali, Jordan, the UAE, United Arab Emirates.
The UAE. Yeah, United Arab Emirates.
Israel, Grand Cayman, Jamaica, Sudan. By the way, I'm interviewing a Jamaican software developer on my podcast on Tuesday, so that's fun. Australia, many different places, many different times apparently. Maldives, Senegal, Maldives. Okay. Senegal, Thailand, Ethiopia, Guam, Vietnam, India, Nepal, Netherlands, Turkey, and then I think it's missing Sudan.
No, you already said Sudan. Sudan is just further up in
You're
there.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's where you currently live. So
yes.
There's a lot of these that have like a lot more stories. It's not just flying through an airport, but that's 30, 40, it's like almost 40 different countries. Some multiple times.
I have to recount it all the time because I actually don't remember ever what the number is.
Yeah. By the way, Judy Kinnanen says, I just told Glenda that Gerald was in my confirmation class in Berkeley.
Yes. That's so cool. Yeah. So my dad was in her confirmation class.
Okay.
Yeah. So see, these are things actually that I'm still learning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still learning these kinds of things. So I love it when people come up and tell me different things like this, because I would have no idea. Yeah.
Janine Kettery says, I'd be curious to have her tell the names of the dozens if possible. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Maybe the people that your husband was flying for or something. But I'm not sure if we want to go there.
Know. I don't, he's technically not supposed to.
I think probably,
whatever, but
what do you call it? Non-disclosure or something like that. But Mark Johnson checks in, says hi. So let's look at some photos. And then actually, before we get to that, one of the things you were talking to, so my wife, Kyra, and I were talking to you before we started here, and you were telling stories, and I was like, oh man, this is so great. I hope we can get some of this in the actual interview. But you were saying that, for example, you use a VPN on your phone and any electronic devices that you use that are connected to the internet.
24/7.
A VPN, which for those of you who are not familiar, a VPN allows you to route your internet traffic so that it looks like you are coming from a different country or a different location. So right now, Glenda is appearing in a non-US country for her electronic communications. And this is, well, why do you do this?
It's just better. Number one, I wouldn't have access to a lot of websites, even, especially in Sudan. And then even in Asia,
they're just blocked. Like nobody from Sudan can access
literally it says access denied. That's what I get. Access denied. So a lot of websites. I would be so massively restricted. And then secondly, what we're doing in Sudan, we're under the radar. And so it just kind of gives me immunity, and it's just better this way. Yeah.
These countries, many of them have governments that are in turmoil or maybe actively hostile toward, either their citizens or foreigners or both. And so it's just a safety measure, really.
Yeah.
So this is like a totally random thing that just, and you were telling me about, we don't necessarily go through all the details and stuff, but talking about your experience in Hong Kong and how, that was a real thing. Like, Hong Kong had these protests as China is sort of taking over Hong Kong, and you were living there at the time. We'll get to that in a bit, but I did want to kind of tease that a little bit. So yeah, there's little things like that like, learning all of these, you've had to kind of learn a lot of different skills that
Yeah.
maybe people wouldn't have to normally.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah, I didn't know about any of this before. This is
Yeah.
all, yeah, we've learned a lot.
Okay, so I'm going to scroll through these, and we'll take a look at some of these photos that you sent over. So obviously this one's in Bali, and interestingly, my wife and I have been to Bali. I think we may have even
You
seen
probably
this
saw
exact.
this. If
Yeah,
you
I
did
think
the
we
bike
did.
trip, did you do the bike trip in Ubud?
We did.
Yeah, then you saw this.
Mm-hmm.
I figured you might recognize it.
So quick little thing. I was going to Bali for a work trip because there was a conference in Nusa Dua, Bali, and I was a backup speaker there. Actually, I didn't end up speaking, but Kyra got in touch with Glenda, and Glenda was like, "Oh, let me tell you about Bali," and gave us all kinds of great information about how to visit Bali in a way that you kind of got a much better sense for what Bali is. And we had a wonderful time. It was like one of the highlights of our life. It was so awesome. But you've been there many times, right?
Yeah, I've actually lost count, but it's probably 20 times. One year I went there 6 times because we're talking literally, I could fly from from Kuala Lumpur, I could fly there, which is Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I could fly to Bali round trip for under $50.
Yep.
And then from Jakarta, it was less than $30 a round trip. Like it just outrageous. I think it's now about $100 maybe, because we've had a lot of inflation since, but you know what I'm saying? It's just ridiculous. So yeah.
So for those of you who don't have maybe world geography just coming to mind really quickly, this is basically above Australia. It's in a country called Indonesia, and Indonesia is actually the 4th largest country in the world in terms of population. Most people live on a giant island called Java, which is where Jakarta is, the biggest city. Bali is right next to it, and it's a much smaller island. But it's very much it's more of a tourist, but it's a very cool place. Very like tropical, and it's Indian Ocean nearby and everything. So yeah, and this right here, what we're looking at is rice fields, but up a steep incline.
Terraced rice fields.
Is this also in Bali?
Yeah, that's that volcano where the bike ride starts, but I forget the name of the volcano always. But that lake was formed from when the volcano erupted. Yeah.
Yep. We were there as well. More rice fields.
Yep.
One of the interesting things we saw when we were there was they have people walking up and down with these long branches, like waving birds away. And they have to do that like all day to keep the birds from eating all the rice, because it's very poor there. And so they have to, they have to work really hard.
Yep.
This is on the beach.
That's in Ahmed.
Yeah. So the northern part,
which is just little fishing village where you went to Gili Meadow.
Yeah. Which is another island near Bali. And it's funny because Glenda's like, yeah, you just go to the beach and hire a fisherman and they'll take you to the island. And we're like, what? Like, this is really new to us, but that's pretty much what we did. Okay, you're sticking your feet in something here. A bunch of
So this is a fish spa. Asia is all about their fish spas. I don't know if you did a fish spa. They have fish spas actually in Nusa Dua, but I don't know if you did one.
No, did not.
Yeah, this is a real thing in Asia. So
put
your feet in. The fish eat all the dead skin.
No way. So you can feel them. Eating? Oh,
and you can pick which which small pool you want to stick your feet in, and the fish are all different sizes. So the bigger ones do a lot better job than the little ones. So this was our favorite thing, to take friends to. This is actually probably in Kuala Lumpur. I don't know if this is in Bali or in Kuala Lumpur, but
where's Kuala Lumpur?
In Malaysia. So both Malaysia and Bali are all about the fish spas. So
we never did this.
So when anybody would come visit us in Malaysia, the boys had friends that came visit us. Some of their friends came and would stay a month, and one friend came and stayed 3 months and stuff. But we take them to the fish spa. It's a lot of fun. They kind of freak out. Yeah,
Yeah, I can
this
imagine.
is all Malaysia. This is all Malaysia.
This is Malaysia. Okay, so
Yeah.
Malaysia's pretty much right next to Indonesia.
Yeah.
And same kind of Southeast Asia
Yep.
area.
Yep.
And
This
then
Chinese New Year decorations. These are the famous
okay,
Twin Towers.
so Twin Towers
Yeah.
in
In
Malaysia.
Kuala Lumpur,
Okay.
the Petronas Towers.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. What are we looking at here?
Schoolgirls on their way to school.
So
Muslims
these
on
countries
their way to
are
school.
mostly Muslim. Bali isn't though. It's
Yeah.
Hindu.
So Indonesia as a country is 88% Muslim, but
Mhm.
the government is not Muslim, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So Malaysia,
which is unusual among these kind
right.
of very
So
heavily.
Malaysia
Muslim.
actually is much less Muslim, but the government is Muslim. So they actually
They have more strict
implement,
laws.
yes,
Yeah.
they implement Sharia law,
Yeah.
whereas Indonesia does not.
Yeah, it didn't
Indonesia,
seem like that. I mean, obviously we're in
well,
Bali.
and even in Jakarta, even in the now, if you go to the island of Lombok in Indonesia, it's very, it's very Muslim, and
Yeah.
it's under those
More
rules.
strict.
They're trying to develop it, but they're having a really hard time because they don't want to turn into Bali, because Bali is a
Right.
big free for all, and they're terrified of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So if you go to Lombok, you need to really dress a lot more.
We set foot on
conservatively and
Lombok,
stuff.
but it was
Okay,
literally
yeah.
just
Yeah.
there for a second and then
Gili
left.
Meno, the Gili Islands, there's 3 of them, technically are part of, they're considered part of Lombok.
Lombok. Okay. Yeah.
Not Bali.
But it was very much touristy. So
yeah,
really not. Yeah.
Right.
So friendly. By the
So-
way, so friendly. Everybody in Glenda told us that if you go to Indonesia, especially Bali, you'll find the nicest people in the world. And it's totally true.
Yeah.
They are the nicest people in the world. Like when we left our hotel, they went and got everybody in the hotel, all the service, all the people who work in there, so they could take a picture with us. They were so happy, like, to meet us.
Friendly.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was so
literally the friendliest country I've ever been to. Yeah.
Incredible.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And even the city, even in Jakarta.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just
which is
as a whole
giant city. That's like 30 million people or something.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I don't even know.
Yeah. It is. I think it is 30 million people.
There's 150 million people on the island. I mean, that's half the population of the US on one island.
Yeah. Yeah. And they have thousands of islands altogether.
So, plenty of monkeys or whatever these are.
They're just always right out your window.
Everywhere.
So this is just right out our window, literally. This is when you sit on your couch in the living room, this is what you see out the window.
Yeah.
And I just zoomed in on this guy. So
yeah.
The whole family was there. They were all there. But he's just,
Wow. Yeah.
And if you open your window, they'll come in. So you don't
they don't have any shame whatsoever.
No, they don't care. So I put this picture because this is literally a god that is worshipped in Malaysia.
Okay.
Like today. I mean, so a lot of people don't realize that this still happens. So every day the offerings are brought to him, and every day pilgrimages are made to him, and he is literally called the monkey god. So
oh wow.
Yeah. So he's part of the Hindu religion.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
He's a god in the Hindu religion. And then these steps are what they will climb up to the caves, because these steps are, I mean, they're really steep and it's grueling. And so they will punish themselves. You'll always see people climbing up those steps behind the monkey god, maybe on their hands and knees or, whatever. So, yeah.
Were you allowed to go up the steps, or is that more of a, okay, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. So.
Okay. And then this looks like a city of some sort.
This is Singapore.
Singapore. Okay. So Singapore is it's a city country. So it's very small, but it is its own country.
Yeah. And it's a lot of people. I don't know what its population is, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
So this was just, I mean, Singapore is just like off the charts as far as, I don't know, just the greatest and the grandest. And so their bridge changes color at night.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
So it was changing colors from red to blue to green to yellow. And
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a park under the bridge, and it just,
Fullerton. Is this also Singapore then?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just more of Singapore.
And then here's you. Looks like it's 2007 according to the stamp
So this
there.
is in France.
Okay.
This is with a few of my 31 kids that I was mom to for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty neat. And let's hold on. Okay. Same group,
Yep, same
also in
group,
France.
same day. This is in
Okay.
Annecy, France. We
Okay.
had the kids had worked very hard all week. They work
Yeah.
6 hours a day, 10 to 13-year-olds, they work 6 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
And so then on Saturday, you get to go somewhere fun, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
if there's anywhere to go. And we were staying at a villa. We were intense,
Yeah.
but the villa is owned by a Christian couple who use the grounds for like Christian camps all summer long. So our job as a team was to basically whip the place into shape because it was just falling apart. So our kids trimmed hedges and repaired walls and, did some brick work, did some carpentry work and just cleaned up the grounds. So they would have visitors every once in a while that came to their villa, and then they would take them out on like tours. So they invited our group to be able to join them. So that was a really cool, fun day. But yeah, my building, because we were sleeping in tents there. But my building was a 3-sided X sheet barn, which was my kitchen and like the area I had for cooking and feeding my kids. And when it rained, we had to find 15 pots and buckets to catch the water because it leaked like a sieve.
Well, that's the thing as we go through this. It's like most people, when they think about going somewhere, it might be like going to Mexico to a resort or on a cruise or something like that,
Right.
hotel. It seems like a lot of your trips, you end up in a tent somewhere and you're just happy to have running water.
Yes, very happy. And if it has a flushing toilet, that's even better.
That's even better.
Yeah. And if the toilet is indoors, then we've hit the jackpot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that is funny. Susan Questad Karn says, so interesting, I have to leave and would love to finish it. I hope I can watch the end. Yeah, it'll be up on both YouTube and Facebook. You'll be able to watch the remainder of it. Susan, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's the case. It's not like it's not glamorous in that way. You you had even mentioned to me, Glenda, like most people probably wouldn't want to go on a vacation with us.
No,
not the way we do it.
No, not the way we do it.
Yeah. It's very different. Another
Mont Blanc, and it's one of my kids.
This is the French Alps or whatever.
Yeah, it's Mont Blanc.
Mont Blanc. Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha. And then looks like a river.
Annecy again. So that's the actual, that's where we took the kids, was to that lake. But then we stopped in that little village and then we went to Mont Blanc. So that was their big day out after working all week long.
Yeah.
And this is in Iceland.
I was going to say, this is different terrain. So this is Iceland.
This is Iceland. And this is just, I couldn't tell you where this is, except that it's just out hiking around again on a Saturday, or it may have been if our kids in Iceland would work really hard so that we'd take them out on a hike before dinner. So we do that a lot. And this is just what you see. This is just typical terrain in Iceland.
Yeah, and it looks like you were there for a month in
we were there
2006. So this was actually prior to France.
Yeah. This is the one that both boys were on the team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is what got me started with that. So this is the famous Gullfoss Falls.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to do a bus tour for one day in Iceland and kind of got to see the main, a lot of the main spots. So that this is the big famous falls.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. You're going to love this, Jamon. So this church is, so I was trying to look it up on Google, but it's a Lutheran church, and it's either the oldest or one of the, it's a very old church, but what it has inside of it is the oldest Lutheran Bible in the world, like the first big, huge translated Bible where they had the Bible in their language. So I don't know if you know, so Iceland is a Lutheran country. When you're born in Iceland, unless your parents mark something different on your birth certificate, everyone who's born in Iceland is Lutheran, just so you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be like most of the Nordic Scandinavian countries that has been the case. And yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, but they took us here so that we could see the oldest Lutheran Bible, which was just pretty cool.
And it was in the Icelandic language.
It's in or
is it in German?
No, it's in
Icelandic.
it's in their language.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which
and they were telling us something like 1,000 years old or something.
Yeah.
It's the original Viking language.
Okay.
The Iceland language, they told us, is the original Viking language.
I believe it, because Iceland, I mean, you look, they've actually most languages, almost pretty much every language evolves over time.
Right.
But Iceland is one of the most reluctant to change their language. They're like militantly against it. So they make it so that, you know how like you read like King James version or something like an older translation, you will read it and it'll the language sounds quaint, it sounds old fashioned, it sounds very different than how we speak today, English. That's not the case in Iceland. If they read it, it just sounds like their normal everyday language, even though it's 1,000 years old.
Yep. And they're the only language that I'm aware of that they create a word in their language for every new thing that comes out. So can you imagine keeping up with technology? Because I can be anywhere, and people can be speaking Arabic, and I'll hear the word TV, I'll hear iPhone, I'll hear iPad, I'll hear, all these laptop, can you imagine somebody speaking Arabic and then laptop comes out, right? Because they don't have a word for it. But Iceland creates a word in their language for that. So there must be just people that 24/7 just, sit around and, okay, what's the new technology? Okay, we need new words for that. You know,
I talked to someone from Iceland about this once, and they kind of rolled their eyes. They were younger. They kind of rolled their eyes about it. Like, I don't know. They're kind of sticklers about this stuff. But they are like, they don't want you to be speaking English to each other. Like if you two are Icelandic and you're speaking English to each other, it's like, what are you doing? Like, don't, unless you're learning it. If you're learning English, maybe, but it's a very interesting thing.
It was fascinating.
I think there's some value there, just kind of keeping a piece of that history. Clayton Olin says, I would definitely go on a vacation with you. I've slept in chicken barns in Iraq. I think I could be comfortable anywhere as long as it's not freezing cold.
I didn't do cold either.
A
really hard time with cold now.
This doesn't look, well, it might be cold.
This is the Blue Lagoon.
So this is Hot Springs, right?
It's the Blue Lagoon in Reykjavik.
Okay, so that's a famous place. I'm not even sure what it is.
So. And it's hot water and geothermal and all that.
Okay. Yep. Gotcha.
And this is at the top of the volcano in Iceland. It's actually that volcano formed the youngest island in the world, and it's Surtsey Island. So you can Google it. It's pretty fascinating.
Youngest.
So it was just crazy. I mean, we're looking at it and I forget the year it was formed, but it's not very old at all. It's a very, very young island, and we hiked to the top of the volcano.
That's cool.
Because that's what we do with our 29 kids.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And this is just the kids having a good time on a hike. We just hiked all over. I mean, just as far as we could go from where our base was. You can drink all running water in Iceland. Really? Yeah. So you just bring your empty water bottles and just fill it up. It's just the best water you'll ever taste.
That's amazing. That is extremely rare.
Iceland. So Indonesia, I always tell everybody, it's the friendliest people. If you ever get the chance, go to Indonesia. But if you can only go to one country ever in your entire life outside of the US, just go to Iceland.
Okay.
Like literally just go to Iceland.
So beautiful and
in the summer.
Unique. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's so phenomenal. Yeah.
Now this looks like a pretty old house there that they're exploring there. Okay, where are we here?
I'm still in Iceland. Now I'm cooking.
Oh, okay. Still Iceland. Okay. Yep. And still
now
Iceland?
we're in Switzerland.
Oh, Switzerland. Okay.
Yeah. So this is, I don't know which trip. We've been to Switzerland 3 times. Once
Mhm.
because we got given a free trip there.
Yep.
Once because we bought tickets for there to surprise our Swiss friend.
Mhm.
And then he took us all over the country and wouldn't let us pay one single penny for anything. And I don't even know how much he spent on us, because he did
Yeah.
things that we probably literally could not afford to do at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And then a third time, because Ken flew to he flew a plane that he was flying, he flew it to Frankfurt, and the plane went
Okay.
into maintenance in Frankfurt and was going to be in
It's in
maintenance
Germany. Yeah. Mhm.
for at least 10 days, maybe a couple of weeks. I think it actually ended up being in maintenance for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so he gets paid to be there the whole time. So he
Mhm.
said to them, hey, look, I can save you some money. Instead of you getting me a hotel in Frankfurt here, I'll take the train and go visit my friends in Switzerland. And then, so he's still, he's on salary and he's getting per diem every day. But they don't have to pay for a hotel. So they're really happy about that. I mean, millionaires and billionaires are really happy if they can save, $200 a night on a hotel. They're really happy.
Yeah.
There's a reason they're millionaires and
I
billionaires.
guess so. Yeah.
But really, for real. So they were just more than happy. And we're more than happy to, have them go stay with our friends. And then I got a really cheap ticket and flew out. I have no loyalty to airlines, by the way, because we don't get any perks from airlines. So I go and I don't care, the cheapest ticket. And so if I find, I typically don't, I'm not able to rack up much for points usually, because it doesn't work, because
You're not going to the same places every time anyway, so they
yeah,
might not
and
fly where you're going.
right. And if I can save, $400 on my ticket, I'm going to save $400. I'm not going to pay an extra $400 just so I can, rack up points.
Get some points.
No. So I got a cheap ticket there and went there for 10 days and stayed with our friends there with Ken for 10 days.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's sort of like, it's kind of where there's a will, there's a way. You've kind of, you just find a way to do it. And, and I assume, this is something that is just, it really interests you. It always apparently has, that you want to go see these places. Okay. So we're moved on to Italy now.
Yeah. This is Italy. So this is Verona, Italy.
Okay.
Which they claim is the home of Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's what they're famous for. They're famous for Romeo and Juliet, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
So this is just the river that runs through the town. We had hiked up to the top of a hill.
Yeah.
Ken had a flight there, and this was the first time that I flew overseas. That is Romeo and Juliet's balcony, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, that's their balcony up there. That's why all these people are in the courtyard here. I told Ken after we walked out, I'm like, the way those people were acting in that courtyard and looking up at that balcony and oohing and awing and taking pictures, I'm like, I think they think Romeo and Juliet were like real people or something. I don't know what's up with these. This is just too much. Do they know?
Yeah,
it was pretty funny.
Heard of Shakespeare? He didn't write
it's
nonfiction.
Pretty funny. You observe a lot of funny things when you travel.
It's probably true. Yeah. Wow, they were really there.
Yeah, no, like the way they were taking pictures, like this is where they were.
Yeah, right.
And it was a ton of different languages that I was hearing. They were all foreigners, and and you got little teeny tiny grandma wives talking to their grandpa husbands, and pointing out that's where she stood. This is what she said and stuff.
Yeah.
And remember I told you about it? Like it was you could just imagine what they were saying, but they thought it was real, I swear.
It was real to them, I guess.
Yes, it was pretty funny. So
is this also Italy, or
this is Venice?
Oh, so I was thinking, this
we
with
did
the boats and everything.
Day trip to Venice.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then see, this is us, Jamon. So one place when Ken flew in the US and everything was Vegas. We've been to Las Vegas a zillion times because apparently that is the place to go if you have a private jet. So we've been to Las Vegas so many times, and we've been to the Venetian because you can go into all these gorgeous hotels and just walk around. And so that was how we went to other countries before, before we actually visited them. We walked
the Vegas version.
Exactly. And surprisingly, so far they've all been really well done. I'm now very impressed with the Vegas version. Yes.
So you're like, okay, the Vegas version actually does remind you of.
Yes. When we go there, we're like, oh, they caught this in the Vegas version.
Yeah.
They were on to it. Yeah, they've done very well.
Yeah.
So if you go into the Venetian in Las Vegas, they have a canal in the hotel. And so we've stood there, with our boys, because like I said, you can walk in for free. This is all free entertainment, right? You can walk in for free and you see the people and they're riding in the boat and then the guy singing to them in Italian and everything. And I don't remember how much it costs in the Venetian in Las Vegas, but we of course never did it because we just don't. We're just like, that's too much money. That's okay. If we're going to spend some money, let's go to the zoo or something, because we all love animals. So we always have to pick and choose, right, where we're going to spend our money. So we'd always pick the animals. And then Ken would just always say to me, oh, one day we'll go to Venice. So we go to Venice, and I forget, it was like $60 or something, like per person, to ride in the boat in the actual canals in Venice. At which point both of us looked at each other and went, $60 each, that's $120. Are you kidding me? So we never did that. And now I tell him, we really should have done it, because we haven't been back to Italy, and we might never go back to Italy because we're in this whole other region of the world. But anyway, that's us. That kind of gives you a good idea of us, because that's us.
Yeah.
We're just like 120, and it was for like 30 minutes. Forget that. And then no, we never did it. So anyway, I've never ridden in the real boat in Venice. So this is Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Hong Kong.
This is my view from the apartment.
So let's talk about Hong Kong for a bit, because you were there during a very, let's see, when did you move there? You were there.
Well, we moved there 2018, I think 2018.
Yeah.
Let's see, I left
I remember
there 21.
I think you were in Hong Kong when you were telling
19,
us
20.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think 2018, or it may have even been summer of 2017.
Okay. Because we were talking to you about Bali, and you were in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And then, of course, for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with this, Hong Kong was its own independent, more or less, nation for a long time. And then there was an agreement that at a certain point, it would be handed over to China, because it was part of the
supposed
British.
to be 50 years.
Right. Yeah. And so that happened. I don't remember exactly the year, but Hong Kong or China said, "Oh no, we'll be very hands off about it. We're not going to impose our stuff." Well, of course, you can imagine how that went.
They broke all of that.
They broke all that, and
gone.
There were massive protests when you were here, when you were in this location.
Yeah.
And you said, I think at that time it was 2019, 2020 was kind of, and actually COVID sort of like was a good excuse for China to kind of like knock all that away.
Literally they just took over because it was easy during COVID. Nobody was paying attention. Countries were locked down, and
everybody was diverted elsewhere. So I want you to tell the story about like the how fast they tracked you and everything, if you're willing, that one time.
So all right. So when the world went into lockdown, I was actually in Indonesia. Ken was working in Indonesia. And fortunately, when Indonesia locked down, I happened to be there because I would go back and forth between Hong Kong and Indonesia while he was working in Indonesia. And we had decided we were just going to keep our condo in Hong Kong because we were just tired of trying to move belongings all over the world. And it's not easy. It can only take what you fit in a bunch of suitcases. So anyway, went into lockdown in Indonesia, and we're locked down from the middle of March until, well, they're technically still there. They've just opened recently to tourists under, certain circumstances and stuff. But I got kicked out then. They kicked out all of us who were there on tourist visas in Indonesia. We went into overstay, and then the government said, we'll let you know when the emergency overstay ends, and then you'll have to leave, because that's what you have to do. You have to leave, and then you have to re-enter under whatever the new guidelines are. So I got kicked out, but fortunately I had a Hong Kong ID card, and Ken's work visa in Hong Kong was still valid, or I actually would not have been able to get back into Hong Kong because they were completely closed. but they let me in under the quarantine guidelines and all that. So I had to put a bracelet on at the airport. They put the bracelet on me, and then you take a taxi to your home, which is kind of a loophole in the system, if you ask me, because technically I could have asked the taxi driver to stop at a grocery store or whatever I wanted. And they would have never known. It's a little weird there, but anyway, I was a nice girl and I went straight to my little studio, which was 175 square feet, by the way. And I activated my bracelet, and I don't know, 5-10 minutes later, I decide that I want to do something on my phone, and kind of realize, oh, my VPN is off, because they had asked me at the airport to turn off the VPN, because when you come in, you have to generate this QR code on your phone and all this stuff. Hong Kong is very, very regimented. I mean, it's like you come in, you walk here, you sit there, you do that, you go here. I mean, you don't turn left, you don't go right. If you have to use the bathroom, that's too bad. You better hold it. So go to the bathroom on the plane before you get off, because we don't mess around. And so I realized, oh, my VPN is off on my phone. I don't even think. And I turned the VPN on my phone, and I got a phone call within minutes. I don't know if it was even 2 minutes, 2-3 minutes. I get a call from the Hong Kong government, and they're very nice, but they said, we'd like to speak to Glenda Howard. And I said, speaking. And they said, where are you? And I said, I'm in my studio. And they said, what's the address? And I rattled off the address to them, which was probably helpful, because had I stuttered or anything, I'm sure that would have been a red flag, and they may have beat on my door, but they didn't. So he said, we can't find you. He said, do you have your bracelet on? I said, yes, I have my bracelet on. He said, oh, please open up your phone, go to the app. I went to the app. It said that I was connected. He's trying to figure out what's going on. And I go, oh my word. I get it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I turned my VPN on because I wanted to watch whatever, Amazon, Netflix, whatever. Because
it's
we're
so
highly
funny,
restricted.
because when you told me this story before, I was like, you were just like straight up. You just told them I have a VPN.
Yeah.
You think that'd be like circumventing their system.
Honestly, they just figure that I'm trying to circumvent.
Yeah,
like I just want to watch a movie,
restrictions,
because that's what they all do. They can't watch movies.
The person you were talking to does this too.
Oh, like, yeah.
It's just
they do it. They all do it, because they all watch Netflix and Amazon movies, and they're restricted. And you can't do it if you're because it's Asia. It's Asia. And so they're restricted by Amazon, actually, and by Netflix and Hulu and whoever, because Asians put it on their screen and then they record it.
And then release
it illegally. So it's big time in Asia and Africa. So everybody uses a VPN for that. That's their reason to use VPN. So he just said, oh, okay. Got it. And, okay, turn your VPN back on. Oh, got you. And I just went, oh my word, it works.
The VPN hides you.
Disappeared from the Hong Kong government, and that's pretty big. They've got surveillance like you've never seen. I go up to my rooftop, and there's cameras everywhere. You walk down an alleyway, and there's cameras everywhere. And I literally disappeared off their radar. And I always wondered if it would really work. Well, it works. It works. Does work. At least the one I use works, which I've been told by Snowden that it works really well. So
there you go. That's the one to ask, I think. Okay. This does not look like Hong Kong.
This is Hong Kong.
It is?
So where we lived in Hong Kong was called Mui Wo, and it's a little village that most foreigners don't know exists in Hong Kong.
Okay.
And this is where we lived. So after living in the city for a year,
below the kids?
Those are water buffalo.
They're water buffalo. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Those are obviously one little white boy and two of them and a couple Asian friends, and they're just having fun. And this is, you never know what you'll see in Hong Kong. So this guy is just walking his pet tortoise. I forget his tortoise's name. It had an Asian name, and he loves it. And he's had it for 17 years. And he lives in my building, which means he lives in like 175 or 200 square foot studios. I'm not
with a
sure where the
giant
tortoise lives, probably in the shower, I'm thinking, which is why he feels bad for it, and he takes it for
a walk.
Hour and a half long walk every day without fail.
And this thing is, I guess tortoises are fine in like hot, like, going over. Yeah. They're not like turtles where they need water. Okay. That makes sense.
It's very happy. And he puts it on that cart when he needs to take it up the elevator.
I see.
Up into the building. And then he picks it up and sets it on there, and then it rides up the elevator.
Those walks would probably be my speed. Some sort of ferry.
Yeah. So this is how I would get from that little village to the city part, like
Okay.
the part of Hong Kong that you see in all the photos.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is how I would go to the doctor. This is how I would do my grocery shopping for the most part, because I also lived on top of above a grocery store. So that was convenient in Mui Wo. But this is what we do. We take the ferry to go anywhere.
So Clayton says, you can earn back money, you can earn back respect, you can earn back trust. The only thing you can't earn back is time. That is true. Joan says, I have to giggle about the Romeo and Juliet balcony. Not a romantic love story. It's a classic non-example, a warning. Don't do this, a lesson in what not to do.
Right.
It's true. Yeah. But
more Hong Kong.
Yeah. Is that like smog or is that fog?
It's probably smog, to be honest. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. The air was so clean where we were in Moonwell.
Yeah. So you were away from the city a little bit. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We lived in the city for 1 year, the first year when we didn't know Mui Wo existed.
Okay.
Yeah. And I hated it. I literally felt like I was suffocating all the time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
This is Israel. This is Israel.
Israel. Okay.
Yep.
And
more Israel, Roman aqueducts in Israel.
Were you tenting under the aqueduct?
No.
Okay.
Surprisingly.
Yeah.
Yes. So if I hadn't known about the group that I went to Israel with, I probably would have been tenting it, or I probably wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
I went with a group called Hands to the Land. So you live on a kibbutz. See? Still not in the hotel, am I?
Yeah, right.
Just never in the hotel. I'm just never in the hotel.
Yeah.
So we lived on a kibbutz. There was 20 something of us in the group. They take groups twice a year, spring and fall. And you live on a German kibbutz. And for 3 weeks, they take you all over the land of Israel. And we actually didn't go to most of the tourist sites. Like, for instance, we didn't go to the tomb that they have marked as Jesus's tomb. We went up this little road, and I have a picture coming. It's the next picture up. This is just on a little road, like in the middle of nowhere. And this is a tomb exactly like Jesus' tomb was. Only this one, because there's no tourists there and nobody cares about it. I mean, it's the same age, everything as the tomb that Jesus, it was there when Jesus was there. This tomb was there. Okay. This one we could go inside of and everything because it's not a tourist trap.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we did a lot of things like that.
So this is the type of tomb that they had back then.
Yep. So this is exactly what Jesus' tomb looked like.
Wow.
But this one we could go in, so there was no barrier to keep us out or anything, because it was literally just on a little road. So Hands to the Land, their price has gone up now, but it cost me for 3 weeks. They picked me up at the airport. They took me back at the airport. And for 3 weeks, I roomed with this woman in a little room. We actually had our own bathroom because they had just finished the new housing. Our youngest son, Christopher, did this program with them, but they had like a shared bathroom for like all the guys and then a shared bathroom for all the women. But now they had just finished new housing at the kibbutz. So we each got our own little room to share. Either a couple got their own room, or two guys, two single guys or two single women shared a room, but you had your own private bath. And it was $500 for the entire 3 weeks, room, board, everything.
Wow.
And
Okay.
all the busing everywhere went. So I would have never seen Israel any other way than that way. And then they give you the opportunity. I wasn't able to stay longer, but after the 3 weeks is over, you can stay up to the maximum of time that your visa allows, which Israel gives you 90 days when you enter. So you could stay 2 extra days if you want, or a week or whatever, and then you just work on the kibbutz. So in whatever capacity, just that's why they call it hands to the land. So first you've kind of gotten your behind the scenes look at what is Israel really like if you peel back all the tourists and everything you hear on the media and whatever, what is really happening there. And like we went to the Golan Heights, we went all over the place. And we went into people's homes where they would tell us their stories, and so that was really fascinating. So I think the cost now is $900, which is still nothing for 3 weeks. Yeah.
So amazing.
So this is Haifa in Israel. So, which is just, it's a pretty city. It's very pretty.
Is it the Mediterranean then?
Yeah, that's Mediterranean.
So,
So, and so we would hike up to the top of these hills, and then our leaders would say, so this valley that you're looking at, this is the valley. This is the valley that actually still looks a lot the same if you took out the roads and stuff, like it did back in the day. But this is where David fought Goliath, and then you go, see that little stream over there? So I don't remember if this was the one where David fought Goliath, or if this was the one, because they looked a lot the same to me. And I'm not seeing the little stream, because the little stream was still there where David fought Goliath, and where he picked up the 5 stones.
Wow.
So I don't remember if this was that one, or if this was the one where Elijah called down fire from heaven. But it's one of those. It's one of those two. And we're up on top of the hill, just like looking at it.
Just looking down at it.
Like, whoa.
Yeah.
This is the Sea of Galilee.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is the Wailing Wall.
The Wailing Wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go through these a little faster just because of our time. So I would love to
Sydney.
hear more, but Sydney.
Yep. Sydney.
Australia.
Yep. This is a
Famous
flight Ken
opera
had
house.
there. So all these things are, again, Ken had a flight there.
Yeah.
and I flew and joined him.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty neat.
Just more of Sydney. You can just zip through it.
There's you with your husband Ken, and
so we go
koala.
to the zoo. So that was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Phillip Island. So we took a day trip.
Where's that?
We just took a bus. It's in Australia, but we just took a bus down there because they have penguins there.
Oh, cool.
Yes.
Southern Hemisphere, closer to the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you can just zip through and you'll probably see some penguins.
Okay.
So, and that was the Blue Mountains. The picture is just out of order.
The
but
Blue Mountains?
Yeah. We just took a train to see the Blue Mountains.
Yeah.
So we just kind of do a lot of hiking and stuff.
Yeah.
Places that we go to. And
Check for penguins under your car. There's a kangaroo.
So this is probably just another part of Australia, Brisbane or Melbourne.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Australia Zoo. Crocodile hunter. There's some penguins. Yep.
So the babies hide all day long while they wait for the parents then to come back at night.
Yeah.
So that's what we went for. We go and then you sit and wait and then the parents come back. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So this is a mountain. Where is it?
Yeah, this is Mount Kinabalu in East Malaysia. So it's the island part of Malaysia, and it's the tallest peak in Southeast Asia.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I hiked that with a bunch of friends. Didn't make it quite to the peak.
Right.
I made it to that sign and I had literally 500 yards more to go, and I was done. I could not. So I said, I'm happy. I don't care. The elevation was so high. I was taking 3 steps and then I would have to stop, bend way over, catch my breath. I could not breathe. 500
yards is a lot when you're feeling like that.
Yeah. I wasn't making any progress. I'm like, forget it.
I'm not built to be a mountain climber, and doing Mount St. Helens felt like that to me. Second try, I actually made it to the top, but that was about it.
I hiked to the top of a volcano, when I was 19 and in Guatemala, but I was a lot older.
Yeah.
Now this is
Shirley Lampin, my aunt says, Stan, her husband, and I are enjoying all the pictures and the explanations. That's great. You're feeding in Thailand. You're feeding a baby tiger.
I always have to find babies. Yep. Animals.
Yeah. Um,
This is in Kenya.
in Kenya. So
Yeah.
is this where you had
Yeah.
a hip replacement?
Yep. Yep.
So when
So
I'm
that was
thinking
the
about places
miracle.
to go to get a hip replacement, Kenya doesn't really
I
rise to the top of
know.
the list.
So
So how did that happen?
so I have a friend that actually the woman that was my assistant leader when I led the France team with Teen Missions. She's a nurse. So I kind of put out a, SOS, if you will, when I broke my hip, because we're in Sudan. I fall in the shower and break my hip. Wish it was something more epic than that, but it was the shower. So I had like 4 years of really bad arthritis in it and stuff. Anyway, so I break my hip. We wait 3 days and I go and get an x-ray for $10 in Sudan and find out that my hip is indeed broken. Sent the x-ray to an orthopedic surgeon friend of ours who's actually practices now out of Trout Lake, Washington. He's retired from the Navy. So his wife has been my friend since we were 18 years old. And he said, I wish I had better news, Glenda, but you are going to need a full hip replacement. This is this isn't happening. So we didn't know what to do. My friend, meanwhile, was reaching out she said, well, I'm going to reach out because I have a lot of orthopedic surgeon friends, and let me just see what I can find. So she had two orthopedic surgeon doctors that are friends of hers, both of whom she's served with because she kind of travels around as a missionary nurse. And one of them had actually been to Kajabe Hospital because like Samaritan's Purse will bring doctors there. Doctors Without Borders go there. Different groups take turns serving there just because, not because, well, the way they put it is they go there to serve because it's top of the line, by the way. It's absolutely top of the line. But there are so many people. There's just not enough doctors there in Kenya, in Kajabe Hospital, to handle the massive workload. I mean, when we went that hospital is jam packed. I have never been to a hospital that has so many people in it. Every single waiting room has 100+ people just sitting in there waiting, and they've got everything broken and wrong with them and stuff. So both of those orthopedic surgeon doctors told her about Kajabe, and they both said if we were in that region of the world, we personally would go to Kajabe to get work done. And then I talked to our friend and said, hey, have you ever heard of Kajabe Hospital? And he said, I haven't heard of it, but I'm going to go look them up and everything. So he looked them up, and he was able to see all sorts of information that I wouldn't have even known how to find. He actually was looking at their equipment and everything, he said. So I don't know how he found it, but he said, oh my word, he said, they have everything, if not more than what we have here in the US. You will be in really, really good hands there. So to make a long story short, our pastors in Colorado, we're like under two, we have our pastor friends, because we just kind of stay in touch with people forever, and we're like, no, we still want to be a part of you forever. But both of our churches, one is in Arizona, one's in Colorado, and they're both just house churches. And they're just, the pastors, like, we know them intimately, and it's just amazing that our pastors in Colorado started a GoFundMe, and within 10 days, or was it a week? I think 10 days, between the GoFundMe and then people PayPaling us, and some people sending the money directly to our pastors. It raised 25,000. Actually, I think it was 27,000 that it raised.
Wow.
And at that point, we still didn't even know how much anything was going to be or whatever. So when it was all said and done, it was $6,500 for a full hip replacement, including the hospital, everything. They gave us a discount. When we showed up at Kajabe Hospital, we went, so I'm on my crutches and everything. We go up to the lady that was like helping us and stuff, said, well, are you guys hungry? And we're like, yeah, we're kind of starving. So we go up to the cafeteria to get some food, and like 4 or 5, people all dressed up in scrubs and everything come up to me and they're, are you Glenda from Sudan? And I'm like, yeah. We've been praying for you ever since we heard of you. We've been praying and we can't wait to, just do everything. Oh, you're going to be just fine, honey. You're just going to be fine. And
That's
everywhere you
amazing.
go in Kajabe, you meet people on the street and they'll see me on my crutches and they would go, be healed in the name of the Lord. Turns out that whole town was started by a missionary couple, and they died never seeing anything that's up there. It has the huge orthopedic, that's their specialty is orthopedics. They have a children's hospital. They have a whole nother hospital that does everything else, and they have a Bible school, and they have so many things there. But the missionaries that originally went there never saw anything past a one-room schoolhouse be built and an airstrip be cleared. That's all. We, of course, went to the airstrip because, we needed to walk on the airstrip. My husband and I are both pilots. So, we like to walk on airstrips.
Yeah.
So we walked on it. And then from our hospital room, we could see the grave where those missionaries are buried there today.
Oh, wow.
And they never saw anything past the one-room schoolhouse. But today, it's just this phenomenal area.
Like world-class hospital.
It's unbelievable. And people come there from all over. So the hospital bill was $6,500 for 4 days. They had a couch. Ken stayed in the hospital with me.
Yeah.
And then I had 8 weeks of physical therapy after. Actually, I had 10 weeks of physical therapy after that. The physical therapy and housing and everything was more expensive than my hip replacement.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it was $3,000, which again is pretty unheard of, for business class, round trip business class tickets on Ethiopian Airlines from Sudan to Nairobi, because I couldn't even sit in an economy seat. So that was a big issue. We didn't know where I could go without paying. Just flying very far. We couldn't even afford, business class tickets. It was $3,000. They loaded me when we left. They loaded me via the food cart into the plane because I couldn't get up the steps on my crutches.
Wow.
So they brought me via the food cart into the side door of the plane. And then and then we were able to, when everything was all said and done, we were able to bring $6,000 back in cash to Sudan, which actually let us do a bunch there and kind of kept us surviving for, a few months.
That's amazing.
So it was pretty incredible. It was awesome.
That is an incredible story. I know my brother-in-law, Kyra's twin sister, Myra's husband, Jeremiah Fracke. I haven't actually checked today to see how close we are, but he's having his back surgery in Germany. Maybe we should have told him about Sudan or Kenya. It's kind of a funny one to think about. But,
I know. I think he's going to the right place, though.
Yeah, I feel like
for what he's doing.
Yeah, it's like one of the best in the world, and it's incredible.
I'm so excited for them.
What's this here?
Kenya. Sunset.
Kenya,
yeah. This is actually right in the city. There's a game park in the city of Nairobi, which is just crazy. And it's like $50 for 2 people. It's $25 each.
Yeah.
To go on a safari in the game park, just in the city, and you're on you're on a safari for like 5 hours or something.
Wow,
it's just crazy.
It must be huge. It
is huge. Yeah, it's huge. So then this is down, we went down to the coastal area, took a bus down, and you can stand, one of us was in Tanzania and one was in
you're on the border
in Kenya. So it's in the park because that game park crosses both countries.
Oh, I see.
So if you enter that game park, then you can stand in 2 countries.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And it's like, I don't remember, 20 something or something for the entrance for the game park. So
that's neat. Now, this is what you think of when you think of Africa, these types of animals, giraffes, zebras, things like that, all just kind of hanging out next to each other.
These are Maasai people down in the southern part of Kenya. So it just kind of shows you, they're just very colorful people. Africa is all about color.
Yeah.
This is in the slums of Nairobi. So this school actually is sponsored by our church in Colorado. And this little guy that's holding Ken's hand, his mom is a teacher there, and he just decided he loved Ken. So he just took Ken's hand and visited
great.
all the classrooms with us.
These are all in English. Is that
Yeah, they speak English in Kenya.
they speak English in
and
Kenya.
their own language, but
Yeah.
almost everyone also speaks English,
But
which is very helpful.
I don't know this for sure, but I feel like a lot of the countries have English as a first or second taught language, and then a lot of them have French as well.
Yeah, so they speak the best English. I mean, there's a lot of African countries I have not been to. So a lot of them speak French, and then some English. It just depends. But Kenyans speak English very well. Yeah. So that's my doctor.
Oh,
who gave me the new hip.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
That was my final appointment. That was my 10-week.
And checkup. You were walking, but
yeah, I was walking.
Yeah.
More Maasai people.
Vultures.
Yeah.
And wildebeest or something.
Yeah, wildebeest.
Yep.
They're everywhere. I think this is Vietnam.
Oh, okay. 2013.
Yeah. Yeah, Vietnam or Thailand. Might be Thailand again. I think we have a few pictures out of
so he's in a
but it's
boat.
Fine. Yeah. So this is the this is Thailand. This is the water market.
Okay.
So people come by on their boats, and then you buy whatever you want. Yeah. You buy whatever you want from them.
That's pretty cool.
Which is really cool. They kind of patterned it after Venice.
Okay.
And then they have a bridge and a canal, because Thailand is full, has a lot of canals.
Yeah.
So there's a bridge there that's copied after Venice, and everybody stands on the bridge, takes a picture just like they do on the bridge in Venice.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have the little boats, and the boats travel up and down the canals. So it's pretty cool. This would just be a typical Southeast Asian market. This is Vietnam, but it looks the same in Cambodia. It looks the same in Singapore, Hong Kong. They all look the same after a while. So after a while, you stop taking pictures because they're all the same. Literally, they're all the same.
Yeah.
This is Dubai.
This
was my first time in Dubai. Yeah.
Okay.
Ken had a flight there, of course.
That's what the slogan of this stream is. Ken had a flight there.
Yeah, Ken had a flight there, and then I just bought the cheapest ticket I could find, because I don't get airline perks because he doesn't work for the airlines. But so this kind of gives you a feel for like how the locals dress.
Oh wow.
So you see a lot of women that you can't even see their faces, or you only see their faces, or you only see the eyes. And there's a lot
this
of
lady
that
in black
Dubai.
Right here.
And then the one over to the right.
Oh, right here. Yeah.
Yeah. She so that is depending on how the women dress, that's what the men in their family decided.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. They, once in a while, some of them actually decide that on their own, but very rarely. It's typically that is what is required of her by her husband or her father or her uncles, brothers, or even her son.
Wow.
But the men in the family decide how the women dress. So yeah.
Wow.
A little different.
Yep. A little different.
Just just an indoor ski park inside of a mall in Dubai. That's all.
An actual ski park.
Yeah.
That you can ski in.
Yes. I mean, we would kind of call them, they're pretty small hills. They don't have any double black diamonds there, but they're green runs, Yeah. Just inside the mall.
While it's 118 outside.
Oh yeah. Or 121 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So this is Dubai. That was my first visit to Dubai. So I wasn't really sure at all what to expect. I kind of did the skirts and the, short sleeve blouses.
Oh yeah, I was
whatever. I didn't really, I didn't really.
You tried to be kind of conservative in how you
now I just don't care. If I go to Dubai, I don't care.
I assume because Dubai is a very international port.
Yeah, and
they're kind of used to random
out.
people with.
Yeah, so.
I mean, although you told me that you sometimes get mistaken for being Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
But maybe not there.
Well, even there they asked me if I was from Iran. So I like if I go out in Dubai, because Iran, believe it or not, actually has a lot of Europeans, Australians. There's a lot of people that go to Iran, and some of their own people are not Muslim. So if they leave Iran and live outside of Iran, they will dress however they want. So that's partly why they're like, you're one of those free thinking women, you left your country. And so now you do whatever you want. That's
So if you leave your country, then you're kind of like, whatever. Okay,
yeah. Depending on where you are.
I see. So they kind of have a way to slot you into their kind of mental model of how the world works, even though they don't know that you're Norwegian, Swedish.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Bohemian, French Canadian, whatever. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
This is still Dubai,
I'm going to have to
I think. Yeah.
Scoot through some of these here because we're coming up against time.
Yeah. We want to talk about Sudan. This is probably Ethiopia, Senegal, whatever.
Okay. Because that looks like French to me.
Yeah. Senegal
I think is French, right?
Yeah. French colony, basically. Mm-hmm. This is all Senegal.
Wow, that's a giant tree. And
people sit under the tree. And this is Senegalese. This is how they fix their hair when they really want to dress up and go somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's like straight out of Star Trek or something.
It's really interesting.
Not like anything I've ever seen, but this is dressed up for a party. Mm-hmm. And this is Ethiopia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just man, I wish we could spend more time on these. There's just so much here. Ken had a flight, I'm sure.
No, so Ethiopia and Senegal, I was there for the import export.
Oh, okay.
That I was setting up for Sudan.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Maldives.
Okay.
Ken did not have a flight here, actually.
Yeah.
He found a really good deal and he gave me a trip to the Maldives for my birthday.
Oh, that's cool.
He surprised me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fun.
So since we're in Southeast Asia, it's really inexpensive to get to the Maldives. And then we actually did a budget trip to the Maldives. So we didn't stay on a huge resort. We stayed on a local island in a cute little tiny hotel that was like $25 or $30 a night or something. Maybe it was $50 a night, but yeah.
This looks like some rays here.
Yeah, they come up like little puppies in the water to get scraps of fish.
Okay.
And then you can just reach in and pet them.
Okay.
So, and they're really happy.
We did that at SeaWorld. They're a little different, but yeah.
Yeah. So this more Maldives. This is probably Labuan Bajo.
Oh man, that looks nice. That would be nice to be.
Oh yeah, that's still Maldives.
That's pretty nice.
Oh, Nepal. You can just zip
Nepal.
Through. Yeah.
So Nepal, you said was the winter was a lot colder than you expected.
Very cold.
Because it's so high up.
Mm-hmm.
Which we weren't ready for. Where like the Himalayas.
So that's the Himalayan mountains.
Yep.
And when you see the big peak, that's Mount Everest. So it's
which one?
Well, it's kind of the highest peak in there is Mount Everest because it's just one of the Himalayan mountains, but it's just the highest peak.
Buddha Air.
So yeah. Buddha Air.
Nice. I was actually invited to speak at React Nepal tech conference, but I had too many other trips planned and I couldn't swing that one. That would have been pretty neat.
Yeah.
And then COVID
happened
and killed that all. But yeah. There's an elephant.
He's going home for the night.
Yeah.
Riding an elephant.
There are and those are your two boys?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. Wow. That's cool. Man, yeah, there's just so many of these we could I'm sure spend more time talking about. And we were talking about before we went on talking about
you can keep zipping. This is Japan.
Yeah, we were talking about Japan and
that's Hiroshima or the Hiroshima Monument.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just a little FYI. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty sobering.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. So anyway. But yeah, we were talking about
how Japan is very like there's like almost no crime and it's just a very kind of clean, well organized country.
Yeah, very utopia. Literally, it's just utopia. This is Vietnam.
Okay.
So you can just zip through, but I was
Yeah.
in Vietnam for 4.5 months. I went to Vietnam actually for my health. That
Okay.
was when we were living in this is New Zealand, which I
Okay.
went to visit friends. So Ken didn't have a flight there, but yeah, I lived in Vietnam for 4.5 months for my health because that was when we lived for the 1 year in Hong Kong, where it was the air
When you were
quality, everything was
in the
so
city.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually got really, really sick, and I ended up going to Vietnam, and kind of was just gone flying. He was mostly flying in China all the time and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went to Vietnam, and then
Yep.
he came there like 3 different times and visited me.
Yeah. That's great.
When he wasn't flying somewhere. And it's really, really, really cheap to live in Vietnam. It's hardly anything.
So
Like
he was in New
15 bucks a
Zealand.
night. Yep.
Hobbit hole.
That's the
Shire.
Yeah, it's the film, like where it was filmed.
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is Komodo. This was
dragons.
a trip we did with the boys to see
Yeah.
the Komodo dragons.
Yeah.
Things we never thought we'd see. Typical house there.
Right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a
Up on stilts.
typical family home. Yeah.
All the
So this
Clark
is
County construction people taking notes on how to build houses.
So this is this is on Flores Island. It's the next island down from Bali.
Okay.
And then we stayed on this little boat. I think I have the same boat again, the next picture, but we went out on this boat for 4 days and 3 nights.
Yeah.
Again, it's total budget boat, as you can see.
Yeah.
No cabins in it. We sleep up in that part with the tarp on it at night, just on mats and sleeping bags that they provided. It's kind of like the backpacker hippie boat.
Yeah.
But we saw the Komodo dragons. That's all we cared about. And every day we
cool.
got to snorkel, and I snorkeled and the boys scuba dived.
That's
and
cool.
This is the boys and I on top of the mountain. Now we're in Sudan.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
We didn't organize these necessarily. And so let's talk about Sudan. I don't know if the rest of them are all Sudan or not, but you live there now.
I think they probably are. Yeah.
Okay. So you live there now.
Right.
And talk about how you ended up there and what you're doing over there, because I think that's something we wanted to touch on here.
Yeah, so we ended up there because one of the things Ken and I always said was that we wanted to one day kind of take our whole lifetime of experience and go places where somebody is like really kids. Kids is really our big heart. So we wanted to go and like just show up and say, okay, I mean, we would organize it ahead of time, but just like go with our tent, go with our, propane stove. I didn't know charcoal stoves existed. Now I know about that. Little charcoal stoves, kind of go like self-sufficient, if you will, and just offer to help. How long do you need somebody? 3 months, 6 months, whatever. We'll just use everything we've learned, and we're not afraid to sleep in a tent and on the ground and all of this, because what we learned from all of our friends that are in ministry in different places is that their biggest thing is, and now we know that, is manpower. There's just no manpower. And if you can find the manpower, you have to have somebody to oversee everything they do, because they don't know how to do the simplest things. So your roofs blow off and your walls collapse. And, if they put plumbing in anywhere there's an elbow, they pour cement over it, which is really brilliant. So when you have problems, it's just, everything is just awful. So we didn't know we didn't know really what that entailed, but we had just said we wanted to do that. Well, when we were in Malaysia, we met a young man. This is how I buy my fruits and vegetables, my veggies, by the way. Cart. Yeah, from this donkey guy, the bulk of them. From the donkey. I just call him Donkey Man, who comes by every day with the donkey cart. But when we were in Malaysia, we met a young man at church there. His name is Samir. And he's Sudanese. He was getting his degree in his bachelor's of business in Malaysia. And it's, it's way cheaper to get your bachelor's there. It's something like, I think it was like $6,000 for him to get his bachelor's there. Mm-hmm. This picture, this is my motivation. This one and the next one. But so he was getting his bachelor's there because you can't do anything. You find out really quickly, you can't do anything in Asia, Africa, the Middle East. If you want to do anything, you have a skill and you want to start your own business and just do stuff, whatever. Nobody listens to you unless you have a piece of paper. They just don't listen to you. Everybody wants the degree. Ken actually ended up getting his degree online while we were in Asia, because they will throw his resume in the trash because he didn't have a degree. He didn't have a bachelor's. So 12,000 hours of flying experience, 30 hours of flying experience, and they will literally hire the guy. This is kind of scary, you guys. I'm sorry to tell you this, but they will literally hire the guy with 1,500 hours of experience or 1,000 hours of experience, and a year or, whatever, and throw Ken's resume in the trash. They won't even look at it without a bachelor's degree. So he got that job when we were first in Malaysia, because he got it through a guy in the US. And that's who, recommended him and, all that. But we quickly learned that's unsustainable. If you have to look for a job on your own, they won't even talk to you. So that's why, the Africans will go to Malaysia. They'll go to these countries that are very affordable and get that piece of paper, because without that piece of paper, they literally cannot do anything. So he was getting his business degree, and had just resigned himself that he was just, going to go get a job afterwards, or maybe do his own import export, whatever. Well, he started bringing all these classmates to our home in Malaysia, and a lot of times we'd have 13 different countries represented around our dinner table, or 20 countries represented at a barbecue we were hosting or something. And I started asking all of these kids, really, I mean, they're all like younger than our boys, so they're all 18 to 22, 23, whatever. And Samir was older, though. He's 36 now. He'll turn 37 in October, because he had worked first, and then his family had said, okay, you better go get your degree and stuff. And so I started asking them, what would you do? So my big question was, if money was no object at all, and you could do anything you wanted to, or let's just say you could do what you really, really, truly want to do, what would you do? So I started hearing things like, I would be a village doctor in my country and go to the villages. I really want to be a doctor, but I'm here for a business degree because my family has decided I have to get a business degree. They said there's no money in being a village doctor or whatever. So it's just story after story after story. Every single one of them were not going back to do what their passion was. None of them. So I asked Samir one day, I'm like, well, what do you want to do? And he said, what I really want to do is go back to my country. He's like, and by that time he was calling me sis. And so he'd say, sis, you might think I'm crazy, but I want to have a farm. I want to make a farm, and I want to just collect homeless kids and bring them to the farm and then just raise them. That's what I want to do. That's all I've ever wanted to do. And so we just decided that we wanted to help him with that. And so that started, the dream started about 6 years ago, and almost 5 years ago, we started actively working on it. So that's when I went to Senegal to try to do some import export from there, got burned there. So what we were doing now recognize when Samir said, and so I'm really showing my passion now. Like this is the crux of everything. Okay. And I hope I don't cry, but anyway, notice what Samir had said. He said he wanted to go back to his country, right? Well, his country at that point was still under sanctions from the US. Bashir was still the dictator in control. So we decided, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Let's be logical. Why would you go into a country that's under dictatorship and that's under US sanctions and all that? So, so we thought, well, let's try to find a country that has the same problems, which is pretty much every African country, but that maybe is a lot more friendly to Americans and, easy to get in and out of and all that. So Senegal kind of came up on the radar. And there's a lot of people, doing things in Senegal and stuff and working in the villages, and the government is very open to whatever you want to do, and they don't care and they don't bother you and whatever. So that seemed good and reasonable. Well, 4.5 months later, that door was definitely slammed shut. So then we thought, well, and we were praying, but your brain still gets in the way, because let's face it, it's not logical to go to Sudan. It's not logical to go to Sudan. It's really not. Doesn't make any sense on any level. And it's by no means a comfortable place to be. It's not even a happy place to be. It's just miserable there. It really is miserable there. But I've seen the kids on the streets. I've seen them. And that's now a big problem for me, because now I have their faces I've seen their faces. So we thought, well, why don't we go to Ethiopia? Ethiopia is right across the border from Sudan. In fact, Samir is half Ethiopian, so he can get residency and even dual citizenship with Ethiopia. So that seems logical. It seems like something God could get behind, don't you think? Maybe, yeah. I think he'd be up for that. He wouldn't want me to die. Why would he, want me to die somewhere? We could literally die in Sudan. It's a Muslim country. They are not. They do not. Nobody's there doing anything, and that's for a reason. Okay, everybody has been kicked out. I'm not even sure if the Red Cross is there. I actually need to Google that. But to my knowledge, literally nobody's there. The UN is there, but they literally don't do squat. They literally don't do squat. The UN, I have found out, is pretty much useless. So I went to Ethiopia, and we tried really hard to make something work there. And Samir he got his ID there. And that door, for a lot of reasons, just slammed shut. And I said, you know what? And we talked together, and we prayed, Ken and I and Samir, and just went, you know what? It was Sudan all along, wasn't it? We just really wanted to make something else work that made a lot more sense. So we started a business, importing and exporting, importing from Vietnam, motorcycle tires and inner tubes. We did 20-foot container. It was sold in a week. Everything was sold out in a week. And we were like, oh, we're onto something. This is great, because we desperately wanted to avoid the whole fundraising thing. It's so much energy, and it's viewed so negatively, and it's just, oh, hi, let's talk to you. Oh, and by the way, we're really looking for a lot of donations, which we are, but it's just, yeah, we hate it. And it's just hard, and nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to do it. So we're like, this is great. We'll just, we'll have a business, and just, we can support ourselves then. And we started a nonprofit. So we have a full up and running nonprofit. So we can actually write tax receipts for donations. So we started it back then. We finally, as of last winter, well, actually, I think it might have been January, February this year, finally have that totally up and running. It's just been a huge, long process with living outside of the US to get the bank account set up for it and all that. But now our nonprofit is set up. It's Kindred Hearts. We have one little issue still. We're waiting for the IRS to register the name change from Kindred Hearts Inspiring Change, because Kindred Hearts was taken. So now we registered it as doing business as Kindred Hearts. And anyway, so we're up and running and everything. So that was in process, the nonprofit. But meanwhile, we were hoping we wouldn't even have to deal with, we're just like, well, that'll be great. We'll have a nonprofit. Then if anybody wants to donate, but we won't really have to deal a lot with that. And that'll be great. That'll make life a lot easier. We want to be self-sufficient. And we even the farm, that's the goal, is to have a self-sufficient farm there. So those pictures you were seeing, that's the barn now, that's the house, but the house doesn't have a roof on it yet. We have a well, we have a solar pump in the well, and we have 8 solar panels. It's all hooked up. So we get water running out of that well from the time the sun gets up in the morning until the sun goes down, which is really awesome. But we need a roof on the house, because it doesn't have a roof. Well, it has grass laying on it. And so right now it's just leaking like a sieve because it's the rainy season, and the rest of the time the dust and wind comes through it and stuff. Then we need we need all the plumbing and running water and probably a tower. We have a 500-gallon tank, but we need the tower for the tank so we can have running water for the outhouse, which is a brick outhouse, and the shower building outside. And then we're still working on security for our fence. So we've got some great ideas for the fence, but literally to make us super, super, super secure, we would need to spend about $4,000 to actually put razor wire around the outside of our fence. So we have all the barbed wire now, but and fence staples. Don't forget fence staples. I literally need 100 pounds of fence staples, which is about 10,000 fence staples, because there are no fence staples in Sudan. So all of our fencing is wired to the posts. So all the shepherds have to do is come along and go snip, 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 and your wiring everything falls to the ground. It's done and over with and gone. So simple things that, we don't even think of in the US are a matter of security for us and life and death, if you will, or the difference between getting everything stolen and not. So yeah, fence staples don't exist there. So we did the 20-foot container. We were very happy. We turned around, did a 40-foot container. And then massive inflation started hitting Sudan, and then COVID hit. We sold 90% of the 40-foot container. We have sold the other 10%, but we had also started another business, which was buying and selling tuk-tuks. So I didn't put a picture of a tuk-tuk in here. I should have. Tuk-tuks are used all over Asia, all over Africa. Our tuk-tuks are the ones, they're called a utilitarian tuk-tuk, and they're like a tiny pickup truck with a 2-cycle engine on it and 3 wheels. So it's got 2 wheels, and then it's got
Let's see if I can Google it.
Wheel.
Looks like Wikipedia calls it an auto rickshaw.
Probably. They have a lot of different names.
I'll just share what comes up in a if I can.
Yeah, it comes up on Google, the utilitarian one that looks like a tiny pickup truck. So ours literally is more like a pickup truck. Those are the normal ones.
These are
and
the
then
normal
ours
ones.
is like, it just looks like a little tiny pickup truck with a 2-cycle engine. Trying to see.
Something along these lines, but
yeah, but it just has a small truck bed is what
Right.
it has. So it has that tiny front and then a
Yep.
seat, and then it has a little truck bed.
Mhm.
So as of literally right now, we have whole stock of tuk-tuks. We would buy them from China. We were buying them from China, unassembled, and then we would assemble them, and we were selling them like hotcakes, just boom, 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 boom. And then COVID hit and China closed down. We've inflation started going like crazy just now. So we've probably had, 5 years ago, I'll just tell you quickly, you math wizards can do all the math. 5 years ago, when I went to Sudan for the very first time, the exchange rate was 19 Sudanese pounds to 1 USD. 4 years ago, it was 75 Sudanese pounds to 1 USD. And we thought that was horrible. 3 years ago, it was like 150, 200. It would, jump all over the place. 2 years ago, it was 300, something around there. Now in the past year, but predominantly in the last 8 months, we've gone anywhere from as high as almost 900 Sudanese pounds to 1 USD. Then it'll drop back down to 600, 550. Then it kind of stabilized. Most of that time, other than about a year ago, finally the Sudanese bank decided to, that they had better normalize things, and because we have a black market, that's the problem. So you have the black market, and then you have the bank. So Google would tell you what the bank was, and then the black market would be something completely different. So Google would say that it was, 55 to 1, and then the street would be 475 to 1. So now now the bank and the black market are almost neck and neck. Meanwhile, in 2019, kind of when we quit everything in Ethiopia because of everything that was happening. I mean, we just had a lot of things went wrong in Ethiopia. It was not the place we were supposed to be. And along with that, Bashir got kicked off. He got kicked out by the people by peaceful protests in Sudan, which is unheard of in Africa. So we're like, that's good. Things are looking well. And then a Sudanese who was born in Sudan, but has spent 30-something years in the UK as a professor of economics, offered to come and be an interim president, prime minister, not president, in Sudan. So things were looking good. There was a lot of hope and everything. And that's kind of when we were going gangbusters with the import export. And I mean, there was so many foreign countries, companies from so many countries that were just, eager to come in and do business in Sudan. And everybody was, all excited and happy, and we're finally going to have democracy. And Sudan is a virgin country, basically. It's pretty much untouched. We don't even know what's still going to be found in Sudan. And so right now you've got the US looking at it, you've got the EU looking at it, you've got Israel looking at it, you've got China, of course, looking at it, and Russia, and everybody wants a piece of this country because it's brand new. We don't know what there is, but we're sure it has everything, which I'm sure it does, that we need to survive in life. And then COVID hit. So we had all this excitement, all this momentum, and then COVID hit. And then that's when just everything stopped. So we don't have any motorcycle tires and inner tubes left. Those have been all sold and everything. But we now have all this stock. We have tuk-tuks. We have a bunch of tuk-tuks, and nobody will buy them because of the massive inflation, and COVID terrified everybody. And right now we're running about it was 550 when we left. Samir told me it's between 570 to sometimes 590. So it's not doing the huge fluctuations anymore, but we basically had like 300% inflation in a year.
You say 5 years ago, it was 19.
It was 19 to 1.
19 Sudanese pounds to $1.
Yeah.
And now it's 500 something.
Yeah.
We complain about inflation here, but it's nowhere near anything like that.
I don't think we would have a country if that happened here.
I know, it's ridiculous. It's just, yeah. So it's super, super fascinating, Glenda. I know there, so where can people go to donate? I know that you do have that nonprofit. Where do you have a website or something?
So we don't have a website.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to pick your brain about that, actually. Or if anybody wants to message me. Because we're under the radar. Yeah. Because technically Christians,
not supposed to be
Christians cannot, well, they don't care if we have a farm, but bringing kids to the farm. So if we get too much attention brought to the farm, then they're going to figure out when kids come to the farm. So that will be a problem. Yeah. So we're not sure how to promote ourselves and still stay under the radar. So anybody who has any ideas, we are totally open for suggestions. Yep. I can either comment on here or checks I can write it down later, but like checks can be written to Kindred Hearts, mailed to the Arizona address. Eventually we'll be able to use PayPal when the IRS gets that name changed, but PayPal closed us down because they said the name and the address didn't match. So that was a problem.
We'll update the comment thread. I want to catch up with a couple of comments. Joan says, "My lands, what a brave adventurer you are, Glenda." I would agree. And Judy Barney Lappy says, "Thank you so much for sharing the pictures and all your experiences with us. So interesting. Love your passion. God bless you and Ken." And then I want to finish here. I know there's more that we could talk about, but Clayton asks, Glenda, with all your experiences traveling the world, what is the main thing you would want Americans who have not traveled to know?
That's funny because I was actually thinking somebody's probably going to ask a question, something like this, but really honestly, the biggest thing is that everybody at the core is the same. Am I still on speaker? Because I touched my speaker.
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah.
But I'm not going through the speaker anymore. Hold on.
Oh.
Yeah. There we go. I think I'm
okay.
back. No, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, because I can hear you. I'm not hearing you in my ears anymore. I'm hearing you on the anyway. Because of the way we travel, we just are talking to the normal people, the everyday people, and at their core, they're just like us. They're just like us. So they live in a hut, and they live on 25 cents a day, and they harvest rice and the fish that lives in the rice, if they're in Cambodia, or she's a Muslim woman in Sudan that's covered from head to toe, and she did not marry her husband for love, although she's grown to love him. Maybe some of them do, some of them don't. It was an arranged marriage by her family. She had no choice in the matter. But at the end of the day, they just want to feed their kids. They want their kids to have an education. They want their kids to not go to bed hungry at night. Just all the same things that we want. That's what they want. So they will sit and talk to us and, tell us their stories, because we're all still humans at the end of the day. It's hard. I've seen a lot of change in Sudan as a country from the time I went there 5 years ago until now. Now there's a lot of hopelessness. When I first went there, Samir had told me at one point, during that first visit there 5 years ago, if I ever got lost anywhere in Sudan, we actually took a road trip I rode the bus and you just ride the bus for 9 hours, and went to a refugee camp, a 9-hour bus ride away. And so he told me if I were to get separated from him or whatever down there, so we're 9-hour bus ride away from his home, I did not need to have anything to worry about, because all I had to do was find anybody or the bus driver or whatever and just tell him that I am with Samir Nagato and he lives in Omdurman, and they will get me to his door. They will take me to his door. And I said, well, that wouldn't even happen in the US. And he said, no, that my people will take you to my doorstep, and you don't have to worry. This is what my people do. This is what they're like. I'm not sure that would happen now, because now there's just a lot of hopelessness, and there's a lot more, stealing and, things that didn't happen before. Before, they would steal from you, but they would always leave something. So he used to tell me, if they found the stash of all the money that you have, the whole stash of your money somewhere, they'll just take a little bit. They'll just take a little bit. They'll never take it all, ever. No, they'll just take what they need for the medicine or the food or whatever. And he's like, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. It's all right. We can share. Now it's a lot more. They would probably take all of it, because there's just this intense fear. And I mean, look, it's gone from 19 Sudanese pounds to 1 USD to, 550, 570. Well, now it's 570, 580, somewhere in there right now. And everybody's terrified, everybody's scared. But that's kind of, again, that's no different than we see here in the US. People get scared, and then people change, and people start acting differently because they're just trying to protect themselves and stuff. But
that's a good answer. That people are the same. Obviously different circumstances, but yeah. Thanks so much, Glenda. This has been fantastic. Really, really appreciate it. I'm sure we could keep talking for another 2 hours, maybe even will after this, but I do need to wrap this up.
Yeah.
So let's see. I do want to mention that I will have another interview next week. I'm actually going to have several in a row. Norma Nominelli, who is a polio survivor, and she's in her 90s, I think. I hope I got that right. And she will be on August 26th at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Thanks to everyone for coming and hanging out with us and asking questions. And to those of you who are watching later, really appreciate it as well. Looking forward to the next time as well. Thanks again, Glenda. Really appreciate it.
All right. Bye.